Hey everybody, Justin here. Welcome back, and welcome to a new, I guess I'm going to call this a mini series called All About Me. And it's probably going to be two videos, maybe three videos, so it's really going to be a mini series where I basically talk all about me. So if anybody wants to find out more about myself, other than the music things that I do on this channel, then this is the series for you. So, I mean, I'm going to talk about a little bit about my upbringing, um, might touch on some music stuff, but we're kind of going to deal with the basics and beyond. So, um, a little bit into my personal life, but not too personal, um, if you know what I mean. Um, I mean, I am single, so there's that. So, I was born in Sanford, Maine on December 14th, 1983. Can't really remember my first few years as a child, um, but I do remember the first album that I remember hearing, the first couple, as a child. But I want to kind of save the music stuff for possibly episode number two. So that'll talk about my music and things like that. Um, I know that I struggled a lot as a child, and the main thing is I have autism spectrum disorder, high functioning. It used to be called Asperger's syndrome up until the mid 2010s, I think. Don't quote me on that. Um, but when you're dealing with autism in maybe the 80s to 90s when I was growing up, it wasn't really well known. Um, as far as I know, it wasn't really well known unless you've seen the movie Rain Man. And I'll have to confess that I still haven't seen that film, and I need to watch it myself. But you can imagine my parents growing up with me, raising me, um, not quite knowing how to deal with somebody that has, a random outburst, or in some people's views, a temper tantrum. Um, Now, my parents divorced when I was very young. I can't remember my age at all. I do remember seeing them together at one point, but I probably was maybe two or three, maybe four. Um, I remember living with my dad when I was really young, up until maybe age 7. Now, um, school was very, very challenging for me. I got picked on a lot. I struggled a lot in class, and you can imagine my teachers being frustrated with someone with autism spectrum who would have a random outburst every now and again, not knowing what the triggers were. And also, when you're talking about, again, bringing up autism in at this point the 90s, maybe the late 80s, early 90s, um, what were the triggers that would cause these outbursts? And I remember always being shy. I was never really good at making friends, um, but I always had the music. Um, I was in school band from sixth grade up until my senior year of high school. Um, so at least I had that to fall back on. Um, but I can um, remember graduating high school. I don't know how I graduated with honors because I don't think I did that well in high school. I never really fit in with anybody. I never liked the same music that everybody liked. And again, we'll deal with that. We'll talk about that in episode two, getting into especially the music part. Um, but I mean, because this is kind of the basics, kind of the primer, I was always into the stuff that my parents were listening to. Um, I remember my mom and stepdad really liking 70s um, classic rock. Um, and somewhat into the 80s. I'd say late 60s up through the 80s. Um, that was kind of what I grew up on, and I really liked it. My dad was really into 70s and 80s rock, but he also liked soft rock. Um, So he was into things like, Chicago, REO Speedwagon, especially in 1980s David Foster era Chicago. So I was brought up on that. That's where I came in, and it was long before I discovered the brilliance of, 70s era Chicago with Terry Kath on guitar. And that stuff is brilliant. I like all of it, to be honest with you. Um, so I grew up on that, and at the time, other kids in school were listening to what was popular then. And you're talking the 90s. So grunge was in, alternative was in, punk was in, rap was big. Pop music was still a big thing, but more of like the modern pop where I was having none of it. I would hear like moments of things where my musical ear would go, "Ooh, that's interesting." But I never really latched on to anything. I was always stuck in, okay, this is what I like, and that's it. Um, but anyway, um, graduated high school in 2002. Again, don't know how, but I did. Um, I mean, my home life was always challenging. I have a half brother growing up. The two of us, I mean, we're kind of close now, but I know growing up, I was always, I always wanted to be by myself for some reason. I kind of was the hermit in a way. I wasn't very social. Um, like I never was very good at making friends. I had a few, but like kind of closer friends, but I was never very good at, making those friends. And I think it was things that we bonded over more so than, anything else. Like maybe the one or two things that we had in common, as far as my friends growing up. But I know my brother growing up, my half brother growing up, and we had nothing in common. So I was always the hermit. I always wanted to be by myself, either playing my music or, doing something. So you can imagine growing up, like I said, with autism, it was a struggle. Um, and even after high school, I struggled with, finding work or even going to college. Going to college was never going to happen. Um, like I never took my SATs or anything like that. I had a job for a little bit for about 7 years. I worked at a local music shop. I was the technology specialist, so I was the guy that sold keyboards, recording equipment, anything that had to do with electronics. I wasn't the guitar guy. I mean, I knew a little bit, enough to kind of get by. Um, we ended up I ended up parting ways in 2011. Some stuff went down that I was not necessarily proud of. Um, there were a couple of things that happened where I just said, "All right, I can't do this anymore," and I ended up leaving that job. And I struggled to get work. I played in a cover band just to get some extra income, um, but it wasn't enough to support myself. I ended up moving around a lot. I would say from 2011 until now, I probably moved about 10 or 11 times. I never could really settle roots down somewhere. Um, but yeah, so, working was never going to happen. And I didn't get my autism diagnosis until late in my life, until possibly like 2010, 2011, something like that. Um, and I didn't get my anxiety diagnosis until 2015, 2016. But um, I ended up, again, moving around, 10 or 11 times. I was homeless for a couple of weeks. I had a job for about 6 months working at Walmart as a cashier, and I look at it now as 6 months I'll never get back. Honestly, the same way I look at high school as pretty much 4 years I'll never get back. Um, I I do remember in high school, um, I do remember getting roped into going to a country music competition through the state of Maine and then going to Tennessee. Country music was never my thing. Honestly, I did it to help this other guy from high school out. And then, oh, do you want to do the instrumental category? I'm like, well, I'm not really a country musician. So I ended up playing like this kind of classical um, medley of country music in like the style of Yanni or something like that because that was the way that I played back then. I don't know how I won Most Promising Instrumentalist of the Year, but honestly, I don't count any of the awards that I won for that, to be honest with you. Yeah, I did it. It was honestly a flash in the pan thing, um, but yeah. Anyway, so fast forwarding to 2013. Yeah, worked at Walmart for 6 months. Again, 6 months I'll never get back. Um, Took me 3 years after that to apply for my Social Security disability, which is how I'm getting most of my income. I do get some income doing the music, but it's not enough to sustain myself. Um, so yeah, it took 3 years to finally get my disability. I know I couldn't work due to my anxiety, due to the autism spectrum. Um, as my phone goes off, I don't know why my watch just went off, but anyway, um, yeah, because of my anxiety, because of my autism, and honestly, things were getting worse. I've definitely felt my anxiety over the years get bad to the point where I can't even grocery shop anymore. Um, so you um, can imagine what that was like. And then anytime I told anybody that I can't handle being in crowds, I can't handle being in a store like Walmart or any of the grocery stores around here. But how? And the every time the question I would get, well, how can you be up on stage performing, but you can't handle working in a regular job or going to a store? Well, because I have autism spectrum disorder, high functioning. There's one or two fields of interest that I have. One of them being music, and when I'm in that element, I have an easy time focusing on what I'm doing in the moment, um, which is playing. And while I'm playing, I have to listen to not only who I'm playing with, if I'm playing with a band or another artist, I have to be able to listen to them and focus on what they're doing so that I can complement them the best that I can musically. I also have to listen to my own keyboard. What sounds am I using? Is it sounding the way that I need to hear it? EQ wise or balance wise? Are my vocals loud enough? Things like that. So I'm focusing on all of this stuff where I can get into a zone where the audience doesn't matter, where the crowd, out in the audience doesn't matter. I also, depending on where I'm playing, will set up where I'm not directly facing the audience. I'll set up sideways where I'm facing kind of the side of the stage, for two reasons. Number one, it takes my focus away from the audience. But number two, the audience can see what I'm doing with my hands. If you look at the way somebody with a grand piano would set up, like Elton John, for example, um, he would set up when he was playing a grand piano, he would set up facing sideways because obviously you need to be able to see what he's doing with his hands, with the playing. Um, so that was actually the answer that I gave at my Social Security hearing, um, and that's what got me the disability and my Social Security. Um, as far as controlling my anxiety goes, um, I've tried everything. I've tried counseling. I have tried seeing a psychologist. I have tried meds. The meds actually made me worse. The anxiety got worse. Um, I ended up getting really bad weight gain over the 3 years that I've taken it. Normally, my weight's between 170 and 190, depending on what season it is. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. Um, I was probably 260 at my heaviest on the meds. And it was 2021 where I decided that I had enough. Um, and stopped the meds in 2021. I slowly felt my weight go back down. I slowly felt my anxiety go back down, but to, um, I found ways to work with it, with, within the parameters of the anxiety disorder. Um, but, all that aside, here I am now. Um, so where am I at now? Um, Well, I attend a local church here, where I am in South Berwick, where I'm a worship leader. So I lead the music, with a team. Um, it's not like I'm not completely in charge of everything. I don't want to look at it like that. And the same thing with our church's AV department. I kind of oversee things, but I don't want to take on the role of being, you know, the boss and in charge of it, because in the role that I am in here at church, I want to take it on with a level of humility, with a humbleness, because it's extremely important when working with other people, where it's not about me, it's about the goal. And the goal is to provide the best worship experience that we can provide with the tools that we've been given, that we have, um, and when upgrades need to be made, equipment wise, if it's in the budget, and if we, see a way of future proofing ourselves where we don't need to do another upgrade, then we go ahead and do that. But really, that's really where my heart is at. I love where I'm at with church. I love where my faith is at, and maybe I'll do another episode of that. This is in no way going to be where this is not the avenue where I start preaching on anything, where I talk about politics and religion or anything like that. This is not the place for that for me. So I have my role in church. I also help out here at a local Christian school where I help teach music. I work with their music teacher, and we have a very, I'm very blessed with I'm very grateful with the working relationship that we have, where we really want to provide these students with, an experience and having fun with learning music. I think music education is extremely important. it's extremely important for these students to have a creative outlet. Um, and you'd be surprised how much talent um, that you discover in some of these students if you really just give them an avenue to go for it. Um, so I have that. Um, so I have that part of it. I also help out with sound needs as far as AV goes, running the projector, running the sound system, things like that. So aside from the church and helping out with the school, I play in 3 different bands. Um, Part time, there's no way I could juggle each one of them full time. Um, I play keyboards in each band and I sing a little bit in each band. Um, 2 of them are Christian bands, and then one of them is a classic rock original slash cover band that I joined um, through a very good friend of mine um, who's a recording artist, and he has his own YouTube channel. A gentleman by the name of Jack Fawcett, and I'll probably link his YouTube channel. I definitely would go and check him out if you're into guitars and gear reviews. He also has some of his original music, as well as a couple of covers with the band. Um, and he's doing a really good job at it. He's very good at what he does. So I have that. As far as my um, personal interests go, other than the music, I'm really into exercising, working out. Um, I don't have any goals like physically what I want to look like. It's really more for my mental fitness as well as my physical. Um, I really enjoy running, and it took me probably 20 years to discover the love for it. I know a lot of people hate the idea of it. Um, for me, I find that once I get into a groove, once I get out or, hop on my treadmill, I'll call it my hamster wheel too. But when I get into a zone, um, my mind just starts wandering. And I find that any kind of clouds that, cluster in my mind, um, I find that they clear a lot. And that's for me. So running is definitely a thing. I also like strength training. I have a total gym that I do all that stuff on. And if you're a working musician, especially a singer, I do believe it's important to stay in shape, um, to stay healthy, because especially if you're a singer, your body is your instrument, and when you're um, when you're taking care of the nutrition part, and especially the exercise part, it's your way of keeping your body, your instrument, in tune. Um, just like you have to tune your guitar, or if you have an acoustic piano, you have to tune it to maintain it. Um, and the physical part, especially being a keyboard player, having to haul all this equipment around, I need to make sure that I'm in shape to do that. So, music, exercise. I also really have a love for jigsaw puzzles that I've inherited from my mom. I actually gave her a couple this past Christmas, and I just love doing it. Again, it's more for the mental focus, and I find that if um, I find that if I'm a little anxious, I'll start working on a puzzle, um, or I'll exercise. I've got different ways to clear my mind and things. Um, so those are a couple of my interests. I can't really think of anything else right now, but basically, I just wanted to share this little bit of info. I will talk about before I sign off here. I will talk about um, autism for a second. Um, one of the components with it, and one of the reasons why my mind's going 90 miles an hour, is something called sensory overload. So that's what happens when you've got a lot of stuff happening at once, and you stick me in a grocery store that's sensory, like, all over the place. It's loud. You have fluorescent lights, especially at a place like Walmart or, any grocery store. Really wish they would go to LEDs, but um, the thing with fluorescent lights is they flicker really, really fast. Normally the human eye can't really detect it, but if you have any form of epilepsy, you're definitely going to notice it. Um, so there's that. I definitely get fatigued from that. And then all the chatter that goes around, especially in a store, plus the background music. That's like the one place where I don't want to hear any background music is, at a place like Walmart. Um, but it also is a tactile thing too, which is why 100% of the time on this channel you will see me in something sleeveless, like a tank top, or as they call these in the UK, a vest top. You'll also see me in shorts. And again, it's more of a tactile thing for me. It's a way for my brain to desensitize. Um, it's basically how I'm the most comfortable. Um, that's the that's the complicated explanation. The simple explanation would be, you wear what you like, I'll wear what I like, and that's it. This is me. This is who I am. That's it. So I did want to get that. I mean, I saw a couple of comments on some of my previous videos about my wardrobe, and I've explained it in some of the live streams in the past, but that's pretty much it. It's a tactile thing because of my autism spectrum. It's what I am the most comfortable with. I feel like I can move easier than when I'm in long sleeves or even some short sleeves, and long pants. I prefer shorts. I prefer sleeveless. That's it. That's what I like. Um, so I wanted to make sure that I got that in before I go ahead and end this episode. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that that is me in a nutshell. That's the basics and a little bit beyond. I want to thank everybody for watching and sitting through this with me. If you like any of the content on this channel, please subscribe. I'm just going to go through the obligatory stuff here. Go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification button. You'll get notified when I release a video or when I go live for a live stream, and the live stream could be a review over a piece of equipment or some software. It could be a live session where I just work on music. It could be something like this where we just kind of talk and chat and hang out. Um, Things like that. I don't have a regular schedule for when I go live or when I upload a video because I have a lot of stuff with 3 bands plus church plus school plus a bunch of other projects that I have going on. But if you subscribe and click that notification icon, you'll get notified anytime there's a video upload or anytime I go live. I do have a BandCamp site, and it's justinhaveyou.bandcamp.com. And over there, you can listen to some of my music and also purchase it. Purchasing it helps support this channel and helps support the music, and it definitely helps support me as far as being able to continue to make these videos. So again, I appreciate everybody watching, and I will see everybody next time. Take care.